Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. This is Afi Kingdom. We have a good chop up podcast today with an exceptional brother. He's an entrepreneur, he's a boxer, content creator, writer, author of multiple books. Before I get into him, let me get my co host in, and then I actually let the man of the hour introduce himself.
Hey, what's up, guys? I go by the name of AV, aka Alpha Villains. Make sure you guys check out my morning show, Finish Your Breakfast with AV. Afi, I appreciate you for having me on once again. I'm looking forward to having this chop up, man, with this distinguished gentleman, man. So let's get it.
Cool, cool. And the man of the hour, what's going on, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, man?
So tell the audience who you are and what it is that you do, my brother, in case they
So,
don't.
all right, so I'm at Lattimore, just like the name say at the bottom. I guess I do a few things right now. Big claim to fame is I'm doing a lot of writing for my website, for my social media, for my book that'll be dropping probably in the next year. I first time doing a published book with a house, and they got all kind of rules. It's not like when you self publish, you can just get it out when you want to get it out. They got my ass on a contract, and then after that's done, then we'll see where that goes. And I used to fight. I've spoken. I've done a lot of speaking. I'll probably fight again because just
Mm.
interested in that stuff and a lot of different ideas that have popped up over the past year doing coaching. And people just seem to really enjoy what I have to say when because I take my experiences from my life and I try and break them down for people so they can learn from them.
Cool, cool. I got a question off the top. I've been just got out the way because I hear you talking about the book stuff, and to me, I just have my books taken off of Amazon, and so I'm looking to it distributed independently. And I know you had your books self-published at first. What was the transition from doing that into having a book deal? How did that come about?
So my when I first got into the space, and we'll call the space, we're calling a general space of the whole internet making money online space, right?
Right.
When I hopped into that space, I kind of got baptized by fire, drug into it because I was just initially a guy trying to build up his social media clout. Took because I've always liked writing, so I was like, okay, that'll help. Plus, I was actively fighting. That I figured that would help at some point. Uh, but I'm doing all this, and one of the guys I follow, Mike Cernovic, he had put out his book Gorilla Mindset, and I was like, oh, okay, so if you can self publish a book, I can do the same thing. And I'm looking at that, figuring out that whole system and that whole setup. And I'd say, let me do this right now. When you self publish, you gotta do all the marketing, you gotta do all the editing, pay for all that, and that's cool. You learn a lot about the business. And on top of that, what you get is you get numbers. You can see what you can do, what you can sell,
Right.
and then I learned a boatload about press through that because I got a lot of press out for my self-published book. It opened up a lot of doors, and I said, all right, cool. But there are limitations to that, right? Like I'll never be on a bestseller list. Um, I'll probably never get movie licensing or get a bigger thing from that, like any other peripheral things that come from it. Now, the creator economy is fantastic. Now, it's even better than when I first started. So, if I really wanted to, I could go self-publish, right? But they pay you up front, which is nice, and they cover out editing. But it's like if you know anything about the music model,
Right.
if it is, well, I mean, this is like everyone's model from music.
It's like
Venture
independent versus
capitalists.
major. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like, all right, what you get with us is you get distribution. We take care of all the production. All you gotta do is, give us effectively. I worked the math out. They gonna eat before I eat, right? Like they give me
Right.
my advance, but I every royalty I earn goes back towards the advance
Sure.
and not towards not the book sale. So I say all that to say, they're gonna make a lot more money than I'll make off of sales. But I get with them because that it's just a ticket to the ball game, right? A ticket to the big dance. Because with a regular book, with a self-published book, fewer doors are open. To me, it's all about opening up doors and being able to walk through them. Writing the book, my first 2 books were self-published. That opened up a lot of doors, including the door to get this deal. Because I didn't get a bad deal. I got a pretty damn good deal, right? And then walking through that door, that's gonna open up even more doors. But that's why I made the transition because I was like, all right, I've got this big audience now, way bigger than when I first self-published. And I said, all right, let me go use this and convert it into something bigger. Because when that drops, that's how you get the international bestsellers, because they're handling all that translation and selling the foreign rights. That's how you get options on deals, options on other media, because they're handling negotiating that. When I get introduced for speaking, it's a lot sweeter when someone goes Wall Street bestseller, New York Times, USA. That allows me to up my speaking fee. So I'm thinking about all of this, and I go, all right, now is the time to get that. Writing was my gift. If I was an actor or something, I'd be doing the same thing with movies.
That was excellent.
That's awesome, my brother. So real quick, is that something that you kind of inspired, or did it just kind of happen to you?
Oh man, no. I wish this shit just happened. But it wouldn't be as cool of a story if it just happened.
Right.
Okay, but here's what happened, right? Because this was a hell of a crazy time of my life last year. So around September, I took a class, and I took this class. Let me backtrack. I got a buddy who he has a podcast, and he'll get me on and stuff like that occasionally. And and unlike most of the cats I've ever been on their show or ever interviewed with, he was just like, yo, let's make sure we stay in touch. Everyone says that. But nah, man, he reach out, see how things going with Zoom call. He's a busy dude, but we'll chop it up. And he was just asking me what my plans were next. And I was like, I really want to write a book. I want to get a book deal. And he's like, all right, I got this friend who's an agent, and she puts on a class. She's putting on one starting the second week of September. That's the next cycle. Go through it. She walks through the process of getting a proposal, and if she really likes you, she'll sign you as her client. So I go through the class. All right. Now, because of the type of dude I am, about 3 weeks into the class, I said, I should be just reaching out, talking to everybody I know who's got a book deal. Let me see what they can tell me to prepare. So everybody I knew, I reached out to. And a lot of people were very generous with their time and energy. One guy in particular, this cat named Jimmy Sunny, he wrote this book called The Founders about the start of PayPal. He links up with me. He tells me about this. He says, all right, I know you want to get a book deal and all that, but don't discount the self-publishing route, whatever. But since you're really serious about this, check this article out. And he sends me an article about this cat named Financial Samurai. This Asian dude named Ken that live out in San Francisco. I think it's hilarious. He named himself Financial Samurai, and he's Asian. So I read through the article, and I'm like, this is dope. So dope that I just shared it on Twitter. He hits me up and is like, oh, I see you enjoyed the article. Anytime you want to talk, let me know. So we have a conversation, and he says, oh, cool, that sounds like you got a good idea. Let me introduce you to my agent and see if they can help you.
Nice.
Well, I misheard him. I thought he said agent, and I guess he was right. He did say agent. It was the chief editor at Penguin Portfolio, the publishing house in New York, biggest book publisher in the world. And I talked to him, and he's like, okay, yeah, send over some of your stuff, some of your tweet threads, some writing. And he hit me back, and they were super excited. They were so excited, they introduced me to an agent they thought was best for me, which is like, when you talk to anybody with a book deal, it almost never happens this way. Like
they give you a custom agent for your style, right?
Yeah, like the agent, you cats out there sending query letters to agents, And then if they get an agent, then the agent's pitching. The publishing house was already like, we want that dude. Now we got to make sure he got representation because we don't roll that way. So that's how that happened, man. Just really putting things in motion and busting my ass. But that was, I think about that time, and I'm tired because the class ended November 5th, maybe November. Yeah, I think it ended like November 5th, November 6th. But by that point, I was already in talks with Penguin and Howard Yoon, my agent. And then my son was born on November 18th.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Nobody tells you that, like, God, people tell you about the loss of sleep. And it's like, yeah, of course, right? They don't tell you about all the other shit. Like, they don't. I was just talking. Her sister was here this week, and we were talking about this. I was like, they don't tell you that the guy, if you like there and you trying to be a decent, father.
Sure.
Yeah, man, that was shit. That was 12, maybe 14 hours on my feet. Not just there, but like on my feet, no food. I didn't sleep the night before either. It was an exhausting experience, and that's just the start of it.
Sure.
You get home, nobody tells you that these little creatures literally can't do anything. Like, they can't even put themselves to sleep.
Right.
So all my time is, putting them to bed and feeding them, stuff like that. And during that, trying to work out my deal and all that. So I do all of this while I had to rewrite my proposal and everything with a newborn. I didn't get the deal. I don't think I signed it. I think it was like February 17th. It was I know that because it was the same day as my first self-published book when it came out. So all that got put in motion in September, and then the wheels clicked on that part February 17th. So it was a good process, but it did not just happen. I wish, like given my reach and my audience, you would think, like, people think that it has nothing, but I like it that way, man. I'm a big fan of having to go get it out the mud kind of deal, because I feel like that's a more relatable story. Because if I just tell you, yeah, I was minding my business and portfolio just hit me up in my email, what's somebody gonna do with that story? But if I tell you, yeah, so I had this idea, I spent $500 on this class. Class didn't go anywhere. She actually is funny as hell. She actually had the chance to sign me, but she decided she didn't see the vision. And Howard, thank goodness for him, he saw what I was working on and said, "You got a better idea. Here's what I think," and that's the one that got us the big advance.
Do you I know you're a former boxer and you may be going back into the ring. Do you attribute your tenacity and your grit and trusting the process to your to preparing for a fight? Can you walk us through that, your mindset? Because the cliche, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And you just said to us, your vision just didn't happen. And aside from all the other blessings and obstacles you had to endure, how do you prepare? How do you get your mindset ready? Do you attribute that to the way that you are, getting into the ring and prepping for a fight?
Yeah, sure. But I would say that the ring brings that out. If you ain't got that in you, boxing's a great place to develop it. Because I like to tell people that boxing will transform you if you let it. It'll get rid of a lot of your weaknesses. It'll get rid of a lot of your bitchness. You'll have to be in all phases to succeed. And I'm not just talking about like taking punches. That's the easy part. There's a lot of motherfuckers that have done this sport who made their living being the best punch taker, right? But there's a lot of other things you have to do, and in particular to getting a deal and sticking with that. One of the things that I picked up from the sport is you really got to be patient, but it's this weird kind of patience. It's not like you waiting forever and it'll happen one day. It is, like you said, I guess you trust the process. Like I tell guys all the time, it took me 8 years to be able to throw a jab the right way.
Wow.
But the right way. A lot of guys will think they flick their lead hand out as a jab. Like, nah, man, I got a mean jab, but I have a controlled jab.
Right.
But it took a very long time to develop that. And I had to have faith that it would come. I had to always bust my ass though to continue practicing, learning, and pick that up. I couldn't get discouraged when it didn't come.
Right.
Right. So all of this comes together, and you have enough experiences like that, and you start to do everything that way. Like every single thing, you start to look at it and go, okay, I know it's rough right now,
Boom.
but if I just keep with it, eventually it's going to click over and it's going to be all good.
Facts. That's an important message, man. Shit, that's an important message.
It's a message that I think, I hate to sound like an old dude, man. And we are at that moment, man. I'm 38, and now I'm like coaching people or working with people who were like in their early 20s. Like these are adults, but like y'all like 15, 16 years younger than me. It's crazy.
Right.
So I think that is a message. I won't say this generation right now coming up doesn't receive. I think a lot of people never receive that because there's not really. There are very few spaces where that is promoted, where it is, here's something difficult, you better stick with it, and while you're sticking with it, it's not like we just gonna ease up, take our foot off it. That the fights kept getting harder, the training,
right,
best case scenario, got a little harder, but a lot of times a lot harder. So you just life doesn't stop outside of everything.
Right.
But you still gotta keep at it. You still gotta adapt. And I think that's one of the best things that I got from fighting that I apply to everything else in my life.
That's awesome.
Is that stick, that we'll just call it stick to itness. I mean, you can break it down. There's
right.
probably a lot of other adjectives that are within stick to itness, but that's the meta idea right there.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you this, brother. When it comes to fighting, what's like going on in your head during defeat, especially the scrutiny behind it, just being a professional athlete?
You say during defeat?
Yeah, taking the L, man.
Man, I'll tell you, I lost once as a professional, really embarrassing way. And I had a few losses as an amateur where you're supposed to lose. Well, you're not supposed to lose, but when you lose in the amateurs, nobody gives a shit. Just like no one really cares if you win either, for the most part. It's cool. The way I've always looked at any type of, we'll call it shortcoming, failure, mistake, I immediately look at how, or rather, I immediately try and search what I can learn from it, and then how I'm going to use this to make the future better for myself. So it really becomes not impossible, but very difficult to become discouraged in the long term. In the short term, you all messed up. Like I don't want to paint the picture that I gotta get knocked out. It's like, oh, happy go lucky, best thing ever happened to me in the world. No, nothing like that. But I'll tell you what though, when I was, because in a fight, a lot of people don't know this, they don't pay, at least not the undercards, they don't pay you immediately. I had to sit around waiting for my check. And I remember standing there going, this is gonna be the best thing that ever happened to me, one way or the other. And I just kept saying that shit to myself. Right?
Nice.
I just kept saying it. Now that didn't make it any more or less true by me saying it, but it's priming me to look at how my life is going to somehow overall improve despite this local setback. All right, and that's key because here's the hard thing about any type of defeat or setback, and there's a good amount of research there to back this idea up. When you're distressed, you're not as creative with solutions. When you lose, when you're sad, you're not as creative.
Right.
So you got to figure out a way. So that's the problem, and really that's when you need to be most adaptable, most creative. So what I do is I spend everything, like everything. I'm not an unrealistic optimist, but I understand my psychology. I use it to my advantage. And if you don't know that I'm doing it with a scientifically backed reason, you might call me delusionally optimistic. But I'm looking the whole time going, all right, this is gonna be the best thing. And you know, and that's what it ended up being. Like word to blood, man. I couldn't imagine. Or I can tell you what would have happened. If we look at it, and it's easy to look back and it's easy to connect the dots in foresight. What do they say? Hindsight is 2020.
Right.
Here's what happened. I'm 6'1". When I'm in, and this is when I was bigger, so in shape, 215. When I had my loss professionally, I bring up my stats to say I am a small heavyweight. Like, you know, when you look at these guys now, just like the names, even if you don't know the game, like some of these names you probably know: Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder.
Right.
Every name mentioned is above 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'9". Even Alexander Usyk, who's considered small, is 6'4", 235, man. Like, so I would have reached the point, I wrote an essay about this, I would have reached the point where it would have been an incredibly severe opportunity cost. Because a lot of guys ain't got shit else, right? I got a lot of other things I can do. But if I had been pouring all of my energy into becoming the best heavyweight I could become, I would have maybe cracked the top 10, right? But then these guys are so big and they're skilled. So, you know, it's like in the NFL, man. Like, by the time you get to the pros, every wide receiver and every D-back can run a sub 4.4. You couldn't beat her if you couldn't. So what separates the big producers? It's the skill aspect. It's no longer like everyone is the best athlete in the country at that point. So when you get to the top level, it's like everyone's the best athlete. And I'm always honest about this. I started late. I didn't have the skill. All right. So I'd have been stuck. And so I'm happy that I got unstuck and I got a nice, happy way out to go do some other stuff. But now, you know, we'll probably talk about it more. But now I'm like, all right, things are really good, and I got this book, and I understand the power of press and publicity. Now's the time to go fight again.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Right.
Why did you stop fighting in the first place?
All right, so this is. There's a multifaceted answer. I'll break down, or there's a multifaceted answer to this question because it wasn't just one thing or the other. So I went over like the size thing, right? That's a huge component, right? Not the only component, because at the time when I was fighting, you know, Mike Tyson, that was my model, man. 5'10". And now, you know, I didn't have or don't have, you know, his explosiveness or his training from the start, but I was like, all right, someone did it. But realistically, that size would have been a big deal. Now, the other reasons aside from the size, so I took off the whole year 2017 to just heal up, focus on finishing my degree, and that year I discovered, you know, that's when my first self-published book came out. So I was making like online money, which is like crazy to think about. At least it was coming up, but like there was real money flowing in. I was getting ready for a fight in 2018. I was gonna go fight this cat in New Zealand. I got injured sparring. My coach was pissed at me because I wouldn't spar without his blessing and without him. But then when he was done being mad at me, he looked at me and he was like, you know, look at your life right now. You ain't got to do this anymore. I mean, I'm your friend. I don't want you to get hurt, but look at your life. And what he was referring to was the week in May. I graduated May 18th, I think. And I graduated late. You know, I went back to school. Age of 33, he goes, you just got your degree. I was looking at, I had been making money online. That was the first month I made more than 10 grand. In fact, that month I made 33,000, and this was all online money.
Right.
and I was really just interested in traveling and seeing stuff. And when you fight, fighter don't have serious fighter. You don't have a lifestyle like the one I've more or less been living the past 3 to 5 years. And here's the thing: I don't drink, I don't do drugs, nothing. I just like traveling with my girl. We lived in Portugal because my girl's a Portuguese citizen, so we were living over there for a little while. Like, I couldn't do any of that stuff if I was fighting, and I really wanted to see and experience those things. I grew up, man. I'm a typical stereotype. Single mom, grew up in the projects poor.
Right.
I made something of myself, and I was like, okay, I want to enjoy this, and so I wanted to do that. I was too small. I made more and make more money. That's the other part, because you don't make. Everybody thinks you make money and fight. Now, what I'll say, something that has changed recently, and by recently I mean like after I stopped fighting, these guys really are understanding the internet and social media. There's just so many more opportunities. So I think fighters are making a lot of money now, or at least there are more opportunities if you are even reasonably good at anything else besides fighting. And that I mean literally anything. Can you hold a conversation? Can you put together a complete sentence with a subject, object, and a verb? Can you do that?
Right.
If you can do that, shit,
you got a shot.
You got a shot. Like,
right.
like the sheer number of podcasts with like real high number of viewers. You get out there, you get that likeness in front of somebody. What they're just finally negotiating the NCAA name and likeness, right? You got your name and likeness from the start as a boxer. There was just never a conduit for it. There was never a place. But now there's so many things, Everybody's got the IG. YouTube is there. TikTok. And that's just what you're doing on the side. In terms of like making the purses, making that bread, they're so like Dazzin wasn't a thing. Dazzin's a huge online now, right? Fights on Top Rank app, PBC app. And then the little shows, like the show I was going to fight on in New Zealand, this was 5 years ago. They get like 40, 50,000 views a fight. I'm like, damn. What the fuck? Like,
right.
And this is online. So there's a lot more opportunities now. It's really nice.
Gotcha. It's interesting you say that too, because, as creators, sometimes you said you couldn't have a life. That work-life balance was hard. So now you're chasing your success. You're chasing your legacy, your title, and you're not able to, smell the roses and enjoy life. And, Afi and I talk about this a lot too. As creators, sometimes we just want to feel like we can be civilians and just have a normal life, not check your goddamn phone, not check your subscribers. And that's that work-life balance, man, to, chasing what you think is going to be a vision or success, and, choosing yourself and choosing your happiness and choosing what's going to fulfill you. So I like your story because, you gave yourself a break. You gave yourself some grace. You did the family thing, but now it's time for you to kind of revisit what kind of led you here in the first place, man. So the fact that you're trying to, contemplating getting back in the ring, that's awesome, because, it's all about betterment at the end of the day, man. We always have to continue to strive to become better versions of ourselves no matter what. And that's the thing with men. A lot of people don't understand that, we always have to look for ways to reinvent ourselves or kind of revisit that animalistic, that instinct that we had that made us feel alive. And sometimes, different things can't fulfill that unless you go after it.
Yeah, I like how you put that, because I hadn't thought of it at all that way. But and it's probably because I came at this from one angle and then another and then another, and they all just kind of lined up. What I mean is, come at this reconsideration of fighting, and then it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. I'd have to get hurt again or something like that for me to do it. But why did I think about doing this? I talked about the book, and it'd be just a great opportunity, because that's a hell of an interesting story. Because I mean, I'm 38 right now. Now I'm a pristinely well preserved 38. No drinking, no drugs, right. Staying in shape, low carb eater, that kind of deal. Like very very good out here, right? But that's just an interesting story in of itself, right there. And I know that story is interesting because, they're like, to put it in perspective, my last fight, it'll be 7 years this December. We're talking about boxing right now because it's that continues to open up doors for me, right? And I know if I throw some fresh gas on that fire, it's really going to help me move a lot of books. But here's the real deal, because there were a lot of this. I had a buddy ask me this, and I like wrote out the whole thing because I was like, I got to make sure I understand. I'm not just BSing myself. Let's have a clear thing. Here's the other thing. I've been part-time coaching, like running a class at a gym for the past. I know I found out Anna was pregnant so it was like 13, 14 months. And because of the way I think, I never settle for just accepting and out there just putting it out there. I have to make sure I can stand up or stand by my reasoning and it's
right.
provable. Now I used to tutor physics and calculus. This was easy because there's a right answer for that shit and it's agreed. You can't go, I don't care how convincing I am.
Right, it is what it is.
2 + 2 ain't never gonna be 5. That's just
right.
what it is, right? All right. So with boxing, it's a little more like the Wild Wild West, right? In that you got a lot of guys with a lot of ideas, and guys think something's right or not, and then you go dig into the background. You're like, well, you didn't even fight that long, kind of deal. But I didn't want to have to argue that angle. I don't have to go, well, I know more than you because
right.
I've been doing this fucking 15 years, kind of deal, and got a national title and was a pro and all this, right?
Yeah.
So I started understanding the mechanics of how to throw a punch. That's how it started. And I'm like, okay, this is how we teach someone to throw a punch. And then I realized, and that's how you make a punch fast and strong and slow and quick, or not slow and quick, without impact but quick. All the control. And then I started thinking about defense. And then my coach asked me, my old coach, he's got a pretty big instructional channel for boxing. He's getting into these debates with guys about whether you should twist your foot on a hook or not, and he doesn't think you should. And I had reached that same conclusion independently. I reached it because I was just looking at the mechanics of the body, throwing stuff, seeing what worked as I taught it, and also because because my background, I went to school for physics. I'm sitting there going, okay, some things work, some things don't, and here's why they work and don't work. During that, I went down this rabbit hole, and it completely changed my approach to teaching the guys at the gym and training. I'm going back watching fights, and before I used to be terrible at picking a winner of a fight, like comical. Now, oh man, I don't even have to. I tell guys now, I go cut the top part off. I don't even have to know who it is. Just show me their feet, who's moving. And I'll tell you who's the better fighter and who's more experienced. All of this, I didn't have this knowledge. I couldn't do this stuff before. So what I want to do is I want to go put it to the test. I want to go put it to the test to myself. And I'm not fighting a heavyweight fight because I'm still too small. But I'll fight cruiser. Cruisers, that requires me losing just a little weight. For people who don't know, cruiser is the division from 175 to 201. So the heaviest I can be is 201, which is fine. Like right now I'm walking around at like 220, and that's 220, not like living in the gym the way I'll be. So so between the publicity and wanting to test myself and everything being solid, because here's the last part in my life, like you said, the family thing. I'm never gonna be that. I definitely agree with you. You should not be asking your girl for permission for like how to spend your money and shit like that. Right. That blows my mind.
Right.
With that said, it ain't like the baby just showed up and I was like, oh shit, right? We got this kid. No, right? So I needed to make sure she was 100% on board with what was about to go down, which is gonna be me. I mean, no, she was with me when I was fighting before, so she knows what the workload looks like, roughly. But knowing that she's like supportive and behind what I'm trying to do, that really makes me feel good. Like I had the idea,
it's important.
But yeah, because look, at the end of the day, if you don't have if the person you're with is not supportive of your goals. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you don't really have a partner, right? But there are some exceptions because for the most part, for the past 5-6 years, I ain't been, fighting's been out. We've been working together on the kid thing, but now she's like, all right, I believe in what we're trying to do or what I'm trying to do, and it'll benefit us all. And yeah, so I'm excited about this. I actually wasn't going to talk about this at all, and then my advisor was like, dude, you got to talk about it. You understand the landscape now? And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, you're right. The landscape is huge. Like,
Yeah.
so
we want to see it. We want to see it, Ed. We want to see it.
And I'm not even, here's the crazy part. I'm not even interested, like, not at all in the money at all. Like, because in my mind, I'm still operating from boxing paradigm 1.0.
Yeah.
Ain't no money in the sport. But some will probably find me if I'm even half successful at what I'm trying to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur and having entrepreneurs experience, what like 3 things, instead of advice you give future entrepreneur who want to do things outside of the box other than 9 to 5? That next.
Say that again. What 3 things would I say? Tell somebody.
What would be 3 things, 3 like tips that you would give a man or just a person in general about entrepreneurship, about how to just get into business for yourself?
Okay, right. So, oh man, just 3 tips. All right, so the number 1, you got to decide what you dislike the least, because a lot of people look at what's good and they go, I want to go after that. And now when you do that, you forget that there's a lot of shit that goes on in the background, a lot of sacrifices. So you got to ask yourself what you dislike the least.
That's dope.
All right. And that's important because look, some people, entrepreneurship is great for a lot of things, but it ain't great for a lot of things. And if you don't have the appetite for the risk and the uncertainty, stay with a regular job. Look, if you pulling down 6 figures, right? Are you serving your community? You don't have to get caught up in, and we call it the Instagram lifestyle, right? You see people just, in Dubai,
Lamborghinis, all that shit.
Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
I'm like, brother, you got to know what's important. I mean, we'll get to that, but you got to understand, assuming none of that shit is rented,
Boom.
that comes with such a certain personality. It's not even intelligence. It's because I got a homie. He middle class dude through and through. Growing up, and ended up. He's the kind of guy. You remember when Dogecoin went crazy?
Right.
He and his brother, the kind of dudes that years before they had built a machine. They had like 150,000 Dogecoins. I'm like, so you just got all this money? He's like, yeah, but it probably ain't gonna be worth anything. So I'm not gonna do anything, right? And he was talking about starting his own business, and I was like, if I know you well, and I think I do at this point, I've known you longer than I haven't. You could not work for at least 18 months before you even start to notice money gone. That's how much money you likely have saved up. And your job is like, yeah, that's true, right? A smart guy, biomedical engineer. But I don't know if he'll pull the trigger because you got to have that thing got to be in you.
Right.
Because to him, he hasn't formally made the decision and said it, but number 1, he hasn't decided that he dislikes risk more than he high risk.
Paralysis by analysis. Like he knows too much. Right.
But he got a good stable thing, so cool. So don't decide what you dislike and then figure that out. The next part, you gotta. What's the best way to put this? You gotta be prepared to work, like a lot,
bro.
There's what's the old saying, right? Entrepreneurs are the only people who gonna work who work 80 hours to keep from working 40 for somebody else.
Facts,
like,
bro.
You people don't understand. Yeah, like there's some get rich quick, and that's always going to appeal to people. But if you want to like make a living, like I got fucking bills to pay and a kid to feed now. Like if you want to like make a living, not just like have some extra change in the bank, there's a certain level of discipline and work ethic required. And I feel like a lot of times, a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs are really just bad at at discipline.
The discipline part. Right. That's a very good point.
And so they think, oh, let me go work for myself. And I'm like, you think it's hard working with somebody else? Wait till nobody tells you to show up and do work.
Right.
Wait till you actually got to work to eat, because they've done different studies on this. But most of the time spent in an office is not billable time. Like if you're there on an hourly wage, and it's kind of to make sure, or a salary, and it's kind of to make sure that you're always there when you need something done. But most times you don't need anything done, so you just kind of get your time eaten up by meetings and you bullshit on email and memes and stuff. But wait till you can't do that, and you really got to eat, and then you find something else out. So one, find out what you dislike.
That's true.
Two, thank you. Be prepared to work really hard. And three, you got to get good with people. I think there is this misunderstanding that you can do this all on your own. And don't get it twisted. You're gonna have to do a lot on your own.
Right.
I'd say you have to do 95%, but that 5% is so vital, and it's going to make the difference between moving and up and down. Even if, and it's not just like, oh, let me make these friends so I can have like a network.
A network, right?
No. It's little stuff. Like people want to talk to you, people want to help you, give you advice. People think you're a good dude, your reputation, all that kind of stuff matters. Like the social aspect. We're talking about my book deal. If we break all this down, this goes back to my relationships with people.
Right.
A guy who Shaw was on, who just wanted to keep in touch. A guy who saw me on social media, who enjoyed my stuff so much that he had no problem talking to me and then introducing me to his agent twice. Like these things don't just. You gotta be good with people, because you can't learn everything, and the people who don't know, the people who know things that you don't know, they kind of gotta like you. And then on top of that, I'll put this as like a corollary. I could have said it all the other way around too. A corollary to 3, getting along with people. Yo, reputation and word, man. Like that stuff. It is
crucial, bro.
I've seen a lot of guys get burned out because you get over somebody once and maybe you get over on them once. That second time, man, people talk like, and anybody smart, they start leaning on their network. So you're gonna be able to pick off a small fish, but even then, after a while, they're gonna say something. But when you got a reputation for doing right by people, that gets around because it's so rare. And stuff finds you. So those are my three, really 3.5 entrepreneurship tips. Find out what you dislike, pick your shit sandwich, get ready to do a lot of work, get along with people really well, and guard your reputation.
Excellent.
Maybe you got something?
Nah, man, aside from entrepreneurship, man, I think that's just overall, just being, we're talking from a male's perspective in general, man, just you dropped a lot of real gems, man. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing your story continue to be written. I mean, like you said, it is a unique story. Although in the beginning you are a stereotype, you've taken it upon yourself to change the narrative, change the stereotype, man. And we don't get enough of that, man. And
not at all.
You know what I mean? And yeah.
And here's the thing, so that's what my book is about. It's called Hard Lessons from the Hurt Business. And I'm writing this book, and it's forcing me to remember a lot of things, and some shit is funny. I'm thinking like I'm writing a section right now about crackheads and my interaction with crackheads and how that's spurring the whole don't get out hustled by a crackhead meme and all that. And then you remember a bunch of other stuff too, like you remember the abuse and the poverty. that stuff. And there's this weird obsession guys have, and they think they gotta have some kind of tragic backstory to be interesting. And I'm like, let me tell you something, man. Survivor's bias is a motherfucker. You only think, for people who don't know what survivor's bias is you see the people who made it, and you trace back to the steps that they've gone through, the things they've gone through, and you think, okay, that's the reason why they made it. When the reality is they are here in spite of that, not because of it. There's a great math problem here about this, the formalization that is called where the bullet holes aren't, where they're trying to figure out how these planes, how to shield the planes during I think it was World War One, that kept getting shot down. And everybody just assumed that, look at where the bullet holes are, we're going to put armor there. And it took a mathematician to go, wait a second, if the planes made it back with bullet holes, that means those aren't important areas and they can take a shot. Let's put armor where there aren't bullet holes, where the bullet holes are, and then that makes a difference. How does that relate to survivor's bias? Well, if you look at a guy like me, you go, okay, so all right, cool. So single mom, check. Abusive stepfather, check. Poverty, check. Growing up in the projects, check. Saw people get killed, check. Okay. We got all that. We got a recipe for success. Like, no, motherfucker. What you got is the recipe for most of the inmates in your prison.
Right.
I overcame my addictions, alcohol. That doesn't happen normally. I'm talking to 3 different people right now who wrote to me because 3 different women who wrote to me because they want me to talk to their husbands because the alcohol is tearing their life apart, their family apart. And I'm like, you don't just wake up one day and it's like, oh, it gets better. Like, no, it takes a lot of work, but that's survivor's bias, man. It's crazy.
Awesome.
So I don't want people to think that you go through some shit, you come out better. Most people don't. And
right.
And what it'd be cool. We could figure out how to make sure they did, but then society would be at a different level.
Man, like I said, man, this conversation was everything that I thought it would be and more, man. I'm looking forward to your comeback. It's inspiring, man, and we need more stories. And like you said, man, your past isn't going to determine your future. You're proof of that. And I think we need to hear that more from guys, that they can be more relatable. You know what I mean? You're tangible, you're more relatable. And I think that's what we're going to be able to make a difference, when we talk to these young guys, man. So that was awesome.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Thank you for that. That relatability is key.
Yep.
Good, man. Well, I ain't gonna hold you too long. Let the people know where they can find you, and that the things that they can expect just coming up for.
Yeah, man. So first, I'm Ed Lattimore everywhere on the internet. My website, edlattimore.com. My IG handle, Ed Lattimore. My Twitter handle, Ed Lattimore. Some motherfucker got to it before me on YouTube. Some Ed Lattimore 1, but I got a call with my media rep at Portfolio. Them guys are incredible. Somebody see if they can put some pressure on YouTube to release Ed Lattimore back to me since the channel is not being used.
Right.
So you can find me there, and I'm going to be posting a lot more video content very soon. In fact, you're sitting here, you can't see it, but I got my whole light deal set up in the back. I'm a little shiny right now, but we're going to fix that going forward. The book will be, I don't even have to have it turned in until April 1st, but then sometime in the year after that. So I'll be working on a book and putting out content around that, and training to take fights and really applying these ideas that I would like to say, okay, so guys know them, but you look up boxing and ground reactive force and you ain't gonna see anything. All the other sports figured it out. I'm like, I got to be one of the first minds to go, okay, that's how a punch is strong, pushing it to the ground, and it's because of Newton's third law. Well, but there's that. So those are the things coming, man, and I hope if you hit me up from this show, drop a line, give a follow, show some support, man, and enjoy the content.
Good. I'm gonna hit you on the back end too, and just I need to, talk to a fellow author about some strategies moving forward because they got my books out of print. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to find a way to get back in business, man. So we'll chop it up.
Oh, for sure, man.
what was your last words, my brother?
Once again, man, thanks for having me on, Afi. Ed, it was a pleasure chopping it up with you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel, Alpha Villains, and on Instagram at Alpha Villains. My weekday morning show, Finish Your Breakfast with AV, weekday mornings. And also, real quick, check out my new book, man, Masculine Compromise, The Journey of Emasculation to Your Emancipation. That's available on Amazon. Thanks for having me on.
Good, man. Peace and love and positive energy to everybody. Y'all make sure y'all like this video. Y'all share it. And drop a comment. Let us know what resonated with you the most. Peace out, everybody.
All right, have a good night, man. Take care. Talk to you soon, guys.